And we are live, guys. Welcome to another live stream from High Value Channel. My name is Joseph Darling. Today we're talking about control. And in terms of controlling everything around you without controlling anyone. That's the title of this video. Hope you enjoy it. If you do, make sure you like this video and share it with others because we're developing a Men of High Value community here that's going to become million men strong eventually at one point. So let's talk about the three pillars of the Men of High Value movement. Say them with me: truth, freedom, family. Truth, freedom, family. We're going to focus on freedom today because if you're going to control everything without controlling anyone, how are you going to achieve it? You have to live according to nature, right? Nature just flows. There is no force in nature. It's the same thing with spiritual things. And I don't really like using the word spiritual. It's all about emotion, okay? Emotional things cannot be forced either because it won't be the emotion that you want, okay? When you force others, what happens? Very often, there's actually always, there's an inherent desire in all of us to be free, to not have shackles on ourselves, to be able to roam, to be able to go and do whatever we want to do ourselves. Okay, very often some people want to be free, but then limit other people's freedom for themselves to get greater freedom. That doesn't work in the long run. Okay, so it's not truth. We want truth in such a way that we understand that if we give other people their freedom, we will be given our freedom. That's a principle, right? This is why I'm very huge on libertarianism and understanding the politics, because if the government comes in and forces you to give of your resources, to give more freedom to those that are lacking in those resources, that's a problem. Because it's not a principle. It's not truth. It's not something that works in the long run and in the big scheme of things. So we've got to find other solutions, right? In the same way, you have to become a leader and figure out, how can I get what it is that I desire long term in a way that everyone benefits? Because if not everyone benefits, but it's only you that benefits in order for you to get ahead, that's going to be a problem because it's not a principle and it won't work in the long run. Right? If you force others or basically cause them to have a lack of freedom, then you are going to have a problem with those people in the future. They're going to want to take revenge. They're going to want to escalate the situation and give you problems next time. You want to make sure that you create win-win-win-win-win situations with everyone around you. So that's what we're talking about. Let's look at it from the perspective of the family first, because that's where it all starts. As children, we want to be free. Children want to be free, okay? This is inherent in them as well. And as parents very often have to force their children in order for their children to do what the parents want them to do. That's not a very good strategy in the long run. In the short run, you get them to do what you want them to do or else, right? But the consequence is that eventually they don't want to listen to you anymore. Okay, so they grow up, they become teenagers, and you've basically forced them throughout their entire childhood. What do you think happens? Oh, I don't want to live in this house anymore. I don't want to listen to my parents. I'm going to rebel. And that's why you get teenage rebellion, because their parents have been telling them what to do their entire lives. That's not a system that works very well in the long run. So in order for us to understand this, we've got to go back a few steps, right? We got the 5 phases of leadership, and leading kids is the 5th one, the one that comes at the end. How do you lead your kids to do what you feel is the best thing for them in the long run without forcing them to do it? That's the 5th phase of leadership. the most difficult one because you need to keep them safe. You also want them to have a better and more successful life than you've had. And you want the next generation to become better than yours. So that's the fifth one. So we got to move it back a few steps. Okay. So what are the 5 phases of leadership? You've got allow yourself to be led, so that they don't have to force you, right? That's the best way. If you can come in voluntarily, I want to work, I want to create a win-win situation, let's initiate something good here, then they don't have to force you to do something you don't want to do. You're fired up, excited about it, and you're creating a win-win situation. Always the best thing. And you want to learn from people that are better than you, people that have more skills, people that understand principles better, people that can lead you in the direction of your dreams and goals. Okay, so that's step number 1, or phase number 1. Phase number 2 is leading yourself. In order for you to achieve your purposes, your goals, etc., and for you to achieve all the other phases of leadership, you have to learn to lead yourself. A man who's not willing to change, but wants everyone else to change, will never be able to change those people, right? If he never improves, how can he improve his situation? He'll try to force others to improve the situation because that's his only solution right now. Oh, if they would improve, then everything would become better. Not so. Leadership is being able to get other people to improve because they want to. And the best way to get that happening is for you to have gone in and understood and applied phase number 2, which is leading yourself. When you lead by example, it's the only form of leadership. People will not follow you unless you're leading by example, right? So that's phase number 2, which is leading yourself. The best way to lead yourself, what does that even mean? It means that you're able to control yourself. Self-control is the way to control everything around you. It's basically the first step. You got to allow yourself to be led, but then you're basically, being tossed around by a leader, being told what to do, but it's for your own good because you are learning the things that are necessary for you to move on to the next step. Eventually, you will learn how to govern your own selves, right? Allowing yourself to be led is realizing that you're still a child. Even if you're 50 years old and you've got no skills, you haven't developed value in your life, you're still a child. You're still feminine. So you have to allow yourself to be led until you've got something of value that you can bring to others. This is why it's crucial to get a coach, in my opinion, because it's the fastest way to get your dreams and goals achieved. If you're still feminine, you're always going to be led by someone. Who are you being led by? And if it's not someone who's masculine, how are you going to progress? Throughout my for the first 10 years of my adult life, I was following female leadership. What do you think that did to my masculinity? Huge problem. I didn't figure that out until I began to understand the nature of women. I was allowing myself to be led by female bosses. That's a problem because that means I'm attaching myself to their reproductive cycle. Bad idea. If I want to achieve my dreams and goals, I've got to connect myself to men of high value, masculine men who are independent of me and who basically are indifferent whether I choose their path or not, because they've got other options. Masculinity is having a bunch of options. And very often femininity or feminine leadership makes it so that, oh, you're my only option, you have to change. That's very often the manager role. You'll notice it when you see it at your workplace, at anywhere. Managers suck. CEOs are amazing at people skills and getting you to voluntarily do what they want you to do. Have you noticed that? Managers, they have to force you. CEOs, they know what they're doing. Or CEOs, or even above that, owners are those that know what they're doing. The principles that I'm teaching you right now are so crucial in terms of you learning how to control everything around you. Because when you control everything around you, but not by force, by using principles, by using nature to work in your favor, you're achieving all of your dreams and goals. There's nothing that will stop you from getting everything in life that you desire. There is nothing that you cannot receive if you develop your leadership consistently and exponentially over time. Leadership is where it's at. Understand leadership, you're good to go. You will control everything, including eventually the elements. That's what godhood is all about, right? He understands what's necessary in order for him to control the elements. How do you think Jesus controlled sickness, right? And healed people? How do you think he controlled death? That was by controlling elements, right? But in order for you to learn how to control elements, you've got to learn how to control yourself first. So that's phase 2, leading yourself. And understanding that if you don't understand how to control your thoughts, control your behavior, control your self-talk, you'll never be able to control others, okay? Control everything, control the universe, and allowing it to work with nature unless you've controlled yourself first and your emotions in you. That's step number 1 of controlling yourself. This is why the crucial aspect is controlling your sperm production, controlling your horniness, controlling your sexual drive. Because if you cannot control this, this is the most difficult thing to control, right? When we're children, we're not given that aspect to control yet, right? It doesn't come before puberty. Thank goodness for that, right? So when we enter into puberty, man, those forces become powerful in us. They're like, man, I've never experienced this before. I don't know what's going on with my body, right? You were designed to enter into that phase and then be able to control that production, control that horniness, control yourself so that you can in the future control everything. The most compelling force there is out there is the desire for sexual gratification, for you to ejaculate. Once you are able to control this one, it leads you to be able to control every other aspect of your life. So control your sexual urges. How do you do that? By living semen retention, living that lifestyle. It helps you in everything. If I could just help you to understand the amazing capacity you get from that. The past few weeks, I've been teaching you about a lot of other stuff, right? Semen retention, I don't go a lot in depth about that these days, but it's such a crucial aspect of life. I just want you guys to understand the other big picture of why semen retention is important. Because it's if you only do semen retention, semen retention is not going to have the effect in your life that you want it to have. You have to understand the big picture of setting huge, massive goals and connecting that with semen retention, or else semen retention is just going to be like, yeah, I feel good. I feel better. Yeah, I can control myself. You know, I have a little bit self-confidence. No, that's just the beginning. You want to get to the point where your sperm production fuels you to achieve things that you never, ever could dream of achieving. Because it's so massive, it's so huge. Sperm production is there to motivate you to, despite rejection, despite failure, you keep going. Why? Because your sperm production is fueling you. It's the most compelling force in the universe that drives you. It's your sex drive drives you to move towards, I need to accomplish this or else I will not be able to reproduce with beautiful females of my choice, okay? Not the lower range of females. I want the best of females. Why? Why do you want that? Why do you think God put that in us as a beginning point of the universe? He put it in us so that evolution could happen perfectly. What happens when a man has a sex drive and learns to control and harness that drive? He ends up being confident and being able to have power and to control the environment that he has around him, until the point where he can control everything. What are women attracted to? All women, okay? This is not just a few women. All women are attracted to power. There is no exception to that rule. The more masculine they become, the more they want to have the power in their relationship. So they try to control the man, and he will be the feminine one because he's got bigger of a sex drive, and he also has a bit more rationality when it comes to the intensity of one's emotions, which means that he's very often is going to submit in monogamy because she's so intense. Okay, the only way to keep the peace during that time is to basically submit. That's what I got to do. I'm not saying that you as a man should escalate the situation and say that I'm the one in control, blah, blah, blah. No, the way that you as a masculine man manages that control and get her to calm down is by understanding female nature, is by improving the situation, is by saying, I will fix this no matter how long it takes. I don't care if I fail 1,000 times at it. Your environment, woman, will improve. Trust me. Huh, come on, give me a hug. Da da da. You can understand female nature and what they need in order for them to calm down instead of escalating the situation, because that's going to end up in violence. Because she's going to escalate and then you're going to escalate, and there's going to be a lot of issues from it. Understand the woman, you'll understand the world, and you'll understand freedom. You'll understand how not to force others. This has been millennia of men forcing women and forcing children to do what the man wanted them to do, because in that way the woman wouldn't cheat. In that way the woman wouldn't go off and do crazy stuff. His daughters wouldn't get pregnant, and cause havoc upon his finances and resources. People were starving and stuff like that. Men have been in their feminine nature for millennia. This is the first time in history that we're beginning as a species, as men, to understand logic, to understand rationality, to move towards godhood as a collective. This is awesome. It doesn't seem like we're getting there because of feminism's kind of derailed a lot of guys, right? But once we begin to understand these principles as men of high value, man, we can do amazing things. Okay? So if you understand it and apply these principles in your life, wow. Learning how to govern everything around you, learning how to control everything without the use of force, because you've got tons of options. That's what it's about. Okay, so we're trying to figure out. Okay, we were talking about semen retention. We're talking about how to govern others. Let's see. Phase 3 is leading others. If you've learned how to harness your sexual drive, if you learn to harness that power, and you don't force others to do things that they don't want to do, we can move on now to leading others. How do you lead others most effectively? First of all, you've got to understand people skills. Those are one of the two things that you have to understand in your life: people skills and how money works. If you understand how money works, then you can take care of money in such a way that you can reinvest that money in people and in employees and in tools and resources in order for you to increase in power over time, right? That's taking control of money and the profits that you receive from hiring people. You got to understand how money works. But more importantly than understanding how money works is understanding people, because that's relationships. That's what's going to give you the greatest joy and happiness in life, is understanding how people work. Because if you understand how people work and the mechanisms that are necessary for you to persuade others to follow your course, your suggestion, and then using people skills to basically listen to others, because other people very often have amazing suggestions and amazing ways of doing things. But if you're not a listener, if you're feminine and you only care about seeking to be understood instead of you seeking to understand first. This is a principle from the book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen R. Covey, where he explains this principle so beautifully that first, as a masculine man, he doesn't mention masculine man though, you've got to seek to understand before you seek to be understood. So listening comes first, which means you got 2 ears and 1 mouth, use them accordingly. You've got to listen first, and then you seek to be understood afterwards when other people have felt understood. You're using nature, you're using freedom, you're allowing people to say what they wanted to say, allowing them to vent so that they're like, oh, I feel understood. This person actually cares about what I feel. Now I'm going to listen to him, and maybe he's got some good suggestions. And that's when you come in and say, those are great suggestions. You know what? How about we do this? And it could be a win-win situation, or it could be something completely different. But because you listen to them first, they're more likely going to follow you in the direction that you want to take them. Now, if that makes sense. We're leading others. That's one principle of understanding people skills. And, because if you don't understand people skills, then you're going to have to be very, very effective on the second aspect of leading others, which is options, right? Generating tons of options. Why is that so crucial and important? Because if you want to lead others, but you want them to have freedom and to come voluntarily, they follow you voluntarily because that's according to nature. If you have to force them, that's a problem, and that's going to bite you in the butt later. If they come voluntarily, beautiful things will happen because you're going to work together on the same project and find solutions together. Developing options is then the key. If you suck at people skills, when you get someone that goes in your direction and is voluntary, but then you rub them the wrong way with people skills in such a way that they don't want to follow you anymore, or they feel that you're using them in order to get your purposes and you don't really care about them, they're going to leave you and they're not going to stick around. What happens then? Well, then you've got to replace them. Dang. Okay, so now I have to develop more options. Okay. You develop more options, and then you rub people the wrong way. Oh man, I gotta hire another one. I gotta train someone else, and then you get another option, and you continue the pattern and the cycle of sucking at working with people. Learn people skills once and for all, right? How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Read it again and again and again, 15 times at least, or 50 times, until you understand the principles that are in that book so you can apply them to your life and look at your life suddenly becoming massively productive. Not only productive, but actually giving you joy and happiness in the process of achieving your dreams and goals. So the journey becomes enjoyable because the more you understand people skills, the better you're going to sell, the better you're going to do marketing, the better you're going to get people to return to you for solutions. And when you do that, suddenly everything becomes passive. They come to you again and again. Hey, you've got that solution. You've got that, can you help me with this problem? Can you do this? Can you do that? Suddenly you're the one you're so busy, you don't have time for anyone. You can now put a price on your services. And the more people come to you, the higher price you can put, right? Eventually you're coming to the point where you're like, sorry, man, I'm not going to do what you're telling me to do unless I get $10 million. Like, it doesn't make sense for me to do that because I've got so many other potentials, so many other projects to do, so many other things. Bro, come on, like $10 million or I'm gone. Do you understand how that works, right? The more options you develop and the better people skills you get during that process, the more options you get. So now you can control everything because they need you. You've made yourself an invaluable asset to what they're trying to do and in terms of them achieving their dreams and goals. This is the grand design of an amazing God, of an amazing master who knew exactly what he's doing because he's done this millions of times before, right? And he's put that system in place for us to understand. And when we understand it, we can use the principles that are necessary in order for us to increase in our personal power, which is what God wants us to do. The more power we have, the more ability we have to do good, right? And the more good we are, meaning the more we reinvest in people and in solutions and in solving problems, the better this world becomes. Capitalism is what it's all about. Because when you understand capitalism and you actually care about people, then they're going to continue to come to you, even though you don't lobby for politicians to put in laws and restrictions and regulations so that it's difficult for other people to compete with you, right? You don't build a conglomerate based upon the fact that you're basically, cheating and deceiving people and making it so that you are above people because you're using your power to remain there. Instead, you want to be the capitalist who voluntarily helps people to voluntarily follow him and give him money because they know as a people that if they do, you will reinvest in them. You will care about them enough to find more solutions to their problems, etc., etc., etc. That's how you lead others. That's how you lead millions of people over time, right? When we get 1 million men of high value who begin to apply these principles, oh my gosh, okay? You have no idea how many people have come and gone from this video. Oh my gosh, they're missing out. It is insane. Like, that's the only sadness I have in life, is realizing that, oh my gosh, people don't stick around long enough. They miss out big time. Oh, man. If you understood everything in my concept, you'd be like, man, I need to share this with people. Like, this is the gospel, really, the good news. The good news is truth. What's the definition of truth? That which works in the long run and in the big scheme of things. It's pure, it's clean, it's true. And if it doesn't work, hey, let's figure out what works, right? Because there are certain things that work. And if something is not working, there's a reason for that. That means we're not applying the truth. That means we're not doing that which God wanted us to do, right? So we've got to come to the point where we're like, okay, this is not working. We got to find a better solution. And the more men of high value we become as part of a community who are all driven towards finding the truth, when that happens, then we begin to all apply the truth together and finding better solutions. I want to get to the point where you guys are coming to me and saying, bro, I really think that you're not doing this the right way because I believe that this principle right here works better in the long run and in the big scheme of things. I listen to guys who understand that principle and who understands how this system works. Because if they do understand it, and what I'm doing is not working, I want feedback. I want things to work, right? So obviously there's a lot of things not working with my channel and there's a lot of things I could improve, etc., etc. And I appreciate that. But part of truth is also prioritization. So I'm still working on the channel, making it beautiful and amazing, okay? So anyway, moving on to the next aspect, which is basically leading women. And I've gone through that throughout this video a lot, which is basically you want to come to the point where you increase in your personal power because power is what women are attracted to. If you've got a lot of power, which is you get it the way that I've explained right here, but when it comes to women, you also have to understand women. It's not enough that you govern a massive team of people if you suck at working with women, right? It's a different mindset. They've got wires instead of boxes. However, you have worked with feminine guys. Feminine guys are pretty much like women. Okay, so that's just how it is. But you want to get to the point where you manage to lead leaders, manage to lead masculinity, okay? Because then exponential things can happen because then you lead leaders and they lead leaders and then you continue for generations. But understanding women is crucial if you're going to lead 3 women in love, like 3 girls in love. You've got to understand how the female psyche works. You need to understand how to attract them. And the key aspect is power and people skills, right? You got people skills, you know how she works, you know what you need to do, when to do it, etc., in order for her behavior to match what you want her to do. But she's going in your direction voluntarily, and you don't have to use manipulation in order for her to do so. Very often in the player and seduction, societies and all those guys trying to get, into bed with women, very often they use manipulation in order to get what they want, which basically means deceit, right? They're lying and doing different things in order to get a woman to do what they wanted her to do. That's a very low value man thing to do, right? Because you are basically, that's force, really, because it's deception and it's not truth and it's not going to work in the long run. If a woman knows that you've lied to her, man, there's a breach of trust there that's very, very difficult to bring back to the table. Can you imagine a woman who has a guy like that, who breaches that trust, but who gave her a lot of pleasure in bed? you've basically broken a woman hard, and it's difficult to return back, and she will struggle in her long-term relationships because of that. She's going to be masculine, she's going to be burdened. Because she's burdened and masculine, she's not attractive to the men of high value, which basically makes her not as high value as she could have been if she would have returned or remained in her femininity. But men went around and did what they did and caused problems. Obviously, the guys who are on this channel don't do that stuff, but I'm just trying to help you guys understand that, man, sleeping around is one of the worst things you guys can do for society. Some guys believe that, oh, I'm doing women a service because they want it, right? They want to come and sleep with me, and so I'm doing them a service, and I'm I'm rendering service. Not a problem. Win-win situation, right? Consensuality. Not so much, okay? Because female nature is a male science, and when you understand female nature, you'll understand that sexuality for them is not rational. It is based on emotions. And if you're seducing them to do things that you want to do, but they also want to do it, but it's not based on commitment, it's not based on the long-term provision and protecting of her emotions, it is wrong. It is very wrong. And I'm not even saying it's sin. I don't care about sins. I care about what works, that which works in the long run, in the big scheme of things, for everyone around you, creating win-win situation. The only win-win situation with the woman that you're not committed to for life is to say no. Okay? Sorry, I don't do that. I appreciate that you desire it, but you know what? No matter if she's undressed or not, especially if she's undressed, then you're like, can you get dressed, please? Thank you so much. Like, I need, or run, right? Okay, just make sure she doesn't have your clothes like, Joseph in Egypt. Anyway, moving on to the next thing. Once you understand all of these principles, oh my gosh, you've prepared yourself now to raise an amazing generation of your own loins, right? Who are the most important people in your life? Your family. Why? Because over time, you improve society and you create a legend and a name for yourself from your kids. Your kids are going to do the bidding of your reputation for the rest of eternities. Okay? When you die, you end on this planet right here, but you continue to live on, and you know exactly what's happening as a result of your actions. You'll see what's going on. You'll see your kids. Are they going to spread a good reputation about you? To spread your name? To say that, man, that guy, my father, my great-grandfather, his name has continued for generations because he did this, 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 and this, and this, and this. You should have heard the story about him, and he wrote it down, and he made videos of himself, and this is my grandfather. This is my great-grandfather. You want to be that guy. And the only way to become that guy is to make your kids like you, right? But you can't force them to like you. That's an emotional thing. You can't force emotional things. So you've got to understand how all of these principles work so that when you do have kids, they are there. The most important thing that you can do for your kids is to love their mother, okay? And more importantly, their mothers, because one woman is not enough. One woman will, it's not enough for kids. We're doing this for women and kids. 3 Girls in Love is for them, not you. You're a leader. You come last. Who cares about your emotional needs as a leader, right? Because if you're the leader, you take the responsible steps to establish a kingdom. We're establishing a kingdom one step at a time here, making sure that everyone in my kingdom have sufficiency for their needs, they're provided for, and they're protected. And if they're provided for and protected, then they're happy, and they've got harmony amongst each other, then I'm happy. I'm excited. I'm fired up outside my brain if everyone around me is happy. Have you noticed that if you as a man are in an environment where everyone's depressed, everyone has a horrible time, everyone is fighting and arguing, blah, 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 you're like, why is this happening? How can I solve this? Blah, blah, blah. If you understand all of these principles that I've explained here now, you begin to move together in the same direction towards affluence, towards joy, towards happiness, towards fun. Because if you apply these principles correctly, you won't be living your life on debt. You won't be living a lie. You'll be living according to truth. And living according to truth means that you're safe, you're protected, you've created an environment that works. And when everything works, you may know for a fact that you're doing your job, but you're also following the will of God. He wants you to be happy. He wants everyone around you to be happy, but he wants you guys to be long-term happy, not just in the moment. 1 second doesn't count very much in the eternal big scheme of things, right? That's why he doesn't want you to sleep around, because you're pretty much destroying the progression of other human beings, right? That could have been progressing if you didn't go in there and sleep around with them. He wants you to understand the short term and the long term. Masculinity is understanding the past, the present, and the future, and making the present amazing over time exponentially. But if you're screwing around, messing with people's lives, you're screwing with God's plan for them. Okay? So you understand that, and understand that there's billions of future nows in your lifetime, but also in the lifetimes of those that you are trying to serve. Both your team, employees, your coworkers, because you're an example, right? If you can't lead yourself, if you're watching porn and you're ejaculating on a continual basis, you sleep around with women, other guys are watching you and they're saying, man, I wish I could sleep around with a lot of women. Oh my gosh, I wish I could do that. And then they begin to learn the player seduction theories and all that stuff. And then they begin to apply it, and they deceive women to get into bed with them. And then what happens? They're now examples for the next generation. And then the next generation. And then the next generation become worse and worse and worse, because men begin to be cemented in their feminine ways instead of being cemented in moving towards masculinity, which is a progressional thing. It doesn't happen by itself. It takes work. It takes motivation. But fortunately, if you practice semen retention and voluntary celibacy, you are allowing yourself to be motivated by the future aspect of the beautiful women you're going to have in responsible polygyny, 3 girls in love, in the future. I've got clients who basically are living voluntary celibacy, and their friends are like, how are you doing that? Why are you doing that? It doesn't make any sense. Like, man, that guy is not having sex with anyone. Like, what? Are you serious? Why? I wish I could control myself that way. Blah, blah, blah. Okay? It's like he earns respect. But you know who he really gets respect from? Women. Women are like, wow, that's different. Why don't you do that? Oh, that's interesting. That guy has self-control. Oh, it's kind of turning me on. Blah, blah, blah. That's kind of how women are, okay? Because they love a man who can control himself. Why? Because they can trust that. There's security in that. Now, very often, trust and security doesn't really go in hand with being turned on, right? But if he's controlling himself and he's getting the attraction of other women, and these other women are also interested in him, now the turn on begins. Do you understand? So that's why 3 girls in love is necessary, because when you're in it, when you're in monogamy and in a marriage and you're committed for the long term and you're not going to screw anyone over and you're just committed, you want depth in a relationship. The problem is that the woman will not feel your love. A woman needs to actually love you, be attracted to you, be turned on by you by feeling your love. Can you believe that? I've loved my wife my entire adult life. I've been like, I love you. I've said it on like literally almost daily. I say, I've done the right things. You got to understand that I followed the book according to how it's supposed to be done, and it wasn't working. Okay? Because she couldn't feel love. She was like, I don't feel loved. I need something. What? I need nurturing. I need estrogen. What she needed was other women to love her and to accept her and to be there for her and comfort her. But she couldn't feel my love because there was no estrogen there, right? She needs estrogen in order for her to feel your love and to feel turned on. It's not just about the sexuality. It's about her well-being on a continual basis throughout her day. Like, women who don't feel love don't love themselves. And if they don't love themselves, they don't have self-confidence. If they don't have confidence, they're feeling kind of depressed. They're not in control of their life and everything sucks. But if they feel your love, which only comes from you living in 3 girls in love, responsible polygyny. That's when they begin to flourish. That's when they begin to remain in their femininity. They're not burdened anymore by not being loved. They're lifted. They've got potential now. Everything is possible. And they enter into a sphere of potential that they could never see before because they feel loved. Man, so some nuggets come in between, the videos and the channel, but this is all part of controlling everything without controlling anyone. Increase your personal power. Other people will look at you and be like, wow, I wish I could be like that guy. I don't want to be that guy. I want to be like that guy and apply the same principles that he has. And guess what's going to happen? They're going to come up to you and see, like, how did you do this? How did you do that? Can you help me? And at that moment in time, you will be able to help them, or at least guide them to someone who can, who taught you the correct principles. You're going to get women approaching you for the first time in your life, and they're going to be like, hi, how are you? And they're smiling and grinning and feminine and all that stuff. That's going to happen to you if you're single, okay? At that moment in time, you can actually enjoy being the attractive one, enjoy being the one with power. Over time, everything begins to work in your favor. You get the best possible options in terms of girls and responsible polygyny. Those kids, not only will they be handsome and beautiful and smart and intelligent because you're getting the best of the crops, right? And that reproduction creates amazing babies. Those kids will get more and more beautiful kids themselves and more power because you've taught them these principles. And then the next generation and the next generation, according to this system. Now you're beginning to control the next 500 years, even though you're not even physically present. This is the Men of High Value channel. I'm fired up outside my brain all the time. And let me just check the comments before I go. 41 years old. Do you think semen retention will make me more fertile? Absolutely. It's not only will it make you more fertile, but it will make your woman or your women more fertile. How is that possible? It's because when you increase in power, meaning masculinity, guess who you're going to attract if you're single? Femininity, right? The younger a girl she is, the healthier she is, the more feminine she is, the more fertile she's going to be. It's not about you being fertile. Men are fertile 95% of the time, like a lot of the time. Men are fertile. And if they're not, it's because they're feminine. The more feminine you are, the less there's volatile sperm production. I'm not really excited. If you are fired up outside your brain, in your brain, you're going to create fired up outside your brain sperm cells. And if they're fired up outside their brain, guess where they're going? They're going for the egg. And when they get to the egg, they want to get, they they want to get in there so that they can fertilize that egg. Do you understand what I mean? Fertilization comes from brain vibration and you being fired up outside your brain and being masculine and having not only semen retention. That's not the only thing. You've got to connect it, like I said in the beginning, with goals. Goals and semen retention and thinking big, okay, is the way to create amazing babies. If you can't create babies, there's something wrong. Obviously, that's not the truth. The truth is that which was put in place for evolution, for everyone to be able to reproduce so that evolution can happen on its own. Survival of the fittest, absolutely beautiful. He wants you to reproduce, right? So, and if you're struggling with that, I mean, I understand and I'm sorry for you and all that stuff, like, of course. But bro, the probability that you will be able to be fertile if you increase your masculinity triples 10 times, okay? Like there's no number to it, but it massively drastically increases. Not only that, but the probability that you'll attract a woman who's feminine and who's 15 years younger than you are drastically increases, right? The older a woman is, the less she's fertile. That's nature for now, right? Eventually we'll come to a point where women can have, probably babies forever, but we're not there yet. We haven't learned what's necessary for us to live forever yet. It's coming. But women right now, if they're past 30 years old, the probability that they're going to be able to have a kid drastically decreases every single year. So we've got to make sure we're men of high value early enough so that we can connect with women that are 18 to 22 years old and create responsible polygyny. Okay, after 18, the earlier a woman is, the more fertile she's going to be because of femininity. The more burdened she is, the more masculine, the more stressed, the more unfertile she's going to be. So just explaining how that works is very simple, really. Love your channel. Thanks so much, Mysteriously Kind. I love your channel too, man. Like, I really love. And you know, when you're going to be powerful, man, speaking up, having confidence, you know, getting rid of your anxiousness, etc. You're going to get there. I'm fired up for you. I like all the videos that I can on your channel. I didn't like my father when I was younger. Not sure I like him now. Totally understand. You will become a better father than him, for sure. My advice to you, Joseph, don't tell your wife you love her every day. It loses its value. Don't be so excited with her all the time. It's more masculine. Bro, yeah, I appreciate the suggestion. I've learned those things. Like, for 10 years, I had no idea. Well, maybe it wasn't 10 years. We've been married 10 years. But the first 5 years, I had no idea what I was doing with her. I was just following all of the books, the relationship books. How do you do that? Oh, and I sucked. But it's fixed now. Can you suggest some good books on three-girl mindset? This is the channel. I haven't written any books yet about the subject, but if you want to learn 3 Girls in Love, then go to my 3 Girls in Love channel. And it's actually called 3 Girls in Love now, and it's down below in the description, hopefully. Maybe. We'll try to figure it out. Hey, Joe, what are your thoughts on a sleep schedule? 8 hours daily. I've had insomnia for the longest. Sleep deprivation decreases masculinity. Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Sleep is one of the most important things that you can have in your life. Like, I love sleep, man. And if you understand that athletes, like, as restitution from their games, like, they sleep 10 hours, okay? Like, it's part of their regimen. It's part of their training regimen. And those that sleep more actually have less probability of injuries throughout their entire careers. Man, tell that to those guys that were injury prone and basically lost millions and millions and millions of dollars because of them being sleep deprived. Bruh. Yeah, like, sleep schedule, what I like to say is that in the beginning, you have to just set a time in the morning and just get up. Okay. I advise you to not start earlier than 7. If you've always gotten up at 8 or 9 or 8 or whatever, start with 7 o'clock, and then your body's clock. I could make a whole video about this, but I love this principle. Your body clock is that it's going to be tired 16 hours from now. Your body is designed to desire 8 hours of sleep. So you're going to be tired 16 hours from now, which means that if you wake up at 7, no matter what, you're going to be kind of tired at 11. Maybe not the first few days, but trust me, if you do 7 consistently every single day over a long period of time, eventually your body will understand, oh, that's your body clock. Okay, all right, 16 hours it is. At 11 o'clock, you're going to be tired. You're going to fall asleep. Remember, understand that throughout your day, you need to work 10 hours, okay? It's not, if you are being sleep deprived and you suck at sleeping, you're having, sleep insomnia, whatever, that's because very often you don't work hard. The harder you work, the more tired you'll be at night. If you don't work as much and you're kind of on YouTube, just chilling, and, doing whatever you want to do when you want to do it, you're going to suffer from it. And the consequence is sleep deprivation. Understand also this other principle about it is the hours before midnight are more valuable than the hours after midnight. So if you always go to bed at 11 or at midnight, you're going to suck compared to those that actually go to bed before that. Okay. When my wife was in America and I was 5 months by myself, oh my gosh, amazing. I woke up at 4:30 half of that time. Like, I set the schedule 4:30. That was what I was going to do. And I was disciplined for the longest of time until I had to live with someone again because I had to get rid of my house, blah, blah, blah. But when I had my own house at that moment in time, I chose 4:30 and I went to bed at 8:30. If you guys have your own apartment, do it. Okay. Waking up at 4:30, you feel like a freaking winner. Okay. You've got all these other people and it's almost as if the universe is focused on giving you creativity, okay? Because no one else is awake. So it's only you who are basically wired towards the universe and receiving inspiration. So the universe now can focus on giving you creativity and inspiration because you're the only one awake in your vicinity. Okay. Obviously, on the opposite side of the world, there's a lot of creativity and the universe is focused on there. But bro, 4:30 in the morning and then going to sleep at 8:30 is amazing. But if you've never done it before, I suggest that you start with 7 o'clock. And then if you do that 1 month in a row, okay, your sleep deprivation is going to basically start falling away. And then you can increase to 6 o'clock. Then you can increase to 5, 4:30. You're not going to be able to keep that schedule for the rest of your life. You really won't, because you'll have 3 girls in love, you'll have kids, you've got a career, you've got people want you to be there and have a nice social outing with them at night, blah blah blah. So 4:30 is not going to be your schedule most probably, and don't expect it to be. But if you're single, man, you should count your blessings and be fired up outside your brain that you can practice that principle now, or at least in the next few months, once you've committed to a time frame. Hope that helps. Should I even want children? As a masculine man, the more masculine you become, the more you will want children. The more feminine a woman is, the more she wants children. You begin to observe people. Ask a masculine woman, hey, do you want kids? Just ask people. Don't tell her she's masculine or unfertile or anything like that. Obviously, people skills. But if she's masculine, she's like, oh, do you have kids? Do you want kids? Just asking, sorry, just curious. She's going to tell you. More masculine she is, the less she desires kids. Why? Because she's got tons of problems in her life. The more feminine she is, the more she's protected, the more she'll desire kids, because she has resources. Everything's wonderful. She doesn't have problems. She's going to be driven towards fertility and having kids. More feminine you are as a man, the less you'll want kids, because you've got too many problems and other issues happening in your life. The more masculine you are, the more capacity you have, the more power you have, the more resources you have, and the more beautiful your kids are going to be, and the more awesome they're going to be, because you attract feminine women into your life. You're going to want to become a parent. So that's my recommendation. If you don't want kids, trust me, over time, if you follow this channel, you'll eventually want it. Get your wife working for you, bro. Stop chasing her. Allow some space. She's no queen. She should chase you if she doesn't stop giving so much. Okay, this is a very good one. Sorry, bro. Like, this is going to be a long video, but I love these questions, and I'm going to answer them unless I'm going to make a full video on it. But I don't want to, because it's about women, and we're not there yet. But for those guys who've actually sat through this entire video, I'm giving you some bonus nuggets here. First of all, George. Bro, I love you, man. You've been around here for a long time. I appreciate all your comments and everything you've done for my channel. Tons, okay? But I got to tell you about this one. You've obviously not been married, obviously have not had kids. Because if you did, you would understand how much burden you put on your woman. So applying player principles, or the principles of how to seduce a woman and all that stuff, doesn't work in marriage if you understand masculinity and femininity. The more you burden your wife, the more masculine she's going to be. And then you're saying, stop working for her, bro. Stop chasing her, bro. Allow some space for her to invest. With what capacity? A woman who's burdened with your children that you burdened her with, that was your fault, not her. She was on the receiving end. You were the one who caused that child to become a reality. You gave her the problems, and now you're saying, hey, bro, just give her more problems, and then everything will work out and she'll be attracted to you. Not so. This is the principles that I teach on my channel are based upon understanding marriage, understanding hardship, understanding 10 years of sucky, okay? And it's not, a player situations doesn't help. You know why? Because you're blaming her. Basically, what you're saying here in that paragraph, I appreciate you. I love you, man. Everything's wonderful. You're awesome. But your principle that you're teaching me is not true. It's not a principle, because you're actually blaming women, and you're blaming your wife. That's even worse, right? Than blaming stranger women. It's even worse to blame the mother of your children. Why would you do that to her? That doesn't make any sense. Okay, so you got to understand that you increase your personal power. The only way to do that is to 3 girls in love, because of options, because it fuels women during that. They get more capacity, they get more driven, they get more motivation when there's other women fighting for your attention. but you're doing it in a leadership manner, always people skills, always making sure everyone has harmony in their relationship, etc., and you always taking the blame. In monogamy, you taking the blame doesn't and will never ever work, right? It doesn't work taking the blame. She's going to suffer for it. But is it right that I should blame her and tell her that she needs to do this, this, and this, and this, and this, or else I won't be interested in her? Because that's how it works in a relationship. Monogamy does not work. Okay, I'm a 10-year recognition of that aspect. And the way you're talking to me is basically saying that, bro, I understand what you're saying, but what you're saying is completely and utterly false and wrong and should not be exercised in if you have power, if you're masculine. And you cannot, by nature, be masculine in a monogamous relationship. She will always have the pants. You will be the head, but she will be the neck turning the head. Oh, she'll be the one turning your head, telling you what to do all of the time. And you can't blame her for that because you're the one who created that environment of being burdened for her. And I know you don't believe in 3 girls in love, but there you have it. You should. Let's see. Thank you so much, Joe, and I do need to work more. Is the power of holding semen related to money? One becomes good with money. Check out my my videos about money. I've got several. I even got a playlist for that. But that's the last thing I'm going to end with. And basically, you have to have goals, and you have to think big, and you have to set the goal of $1 million. If you don't set the goal of $1 million, then you're never going to achieve the power and the confidence that you were meant to achieve. So thank you so much for watching, guys. Thank you for staying until the end. It's not about blaming. It's about allowing space for her to invest in you. Stop giving so much. The more she invests, the more she'll be attracted. And having kids was both your decision. Yeah, you still don't understand. How many wives have you had? How many kids have you had? So I understand that you believe that you have the answers, but trust me, you really, really don't. And yes, it is about blaming. Anyway, hope you guys have a fantastic day, and I'll see you in the next one.